Welcome back to another unsolicited and uneducated football analysis by your friend David Valentin. This time we're going to be talking about Richmond AFC from the show Ted Lasso. And here I am wearing my brand new Danny Rojas kid. Danny Rojas, baby. My favorite character on the show, one of them. So there's going to be spoilers. If you haven't watched the show, I suggest you don't watch. Go watch it. Come back. Ted Lasso is in its second season. So I'm just going to do a brief review of what the show is about, the premise of the show, and what the critics are saying. Basically, Ted Lasso is a show based on a series of 2012-2013 commercials by NBC Sports. At the time, they had bought the rights to basically have the EPL on their network here in the United States. And Ted was a character created. He's an American football coach that gets hired to be an EPL coach. And it's basically fish out of the water. He just doesn't get the game, doesn't understand it, talks to the players as if they were playing American football, demands physicality and all these ridiculous things. And they're funny commercials. And at the end of the commercial series, he's basically gets sacked. He gets fired. To make a show based on commercials that were 60 seconds, it's bold. And he has been tried before. As a matter of fact, for those of you that live in the United States, the Geico commercials with the caveman about 20 years ago, which are still very popular. Every time on YouTube I'm scrolling, and if I see a video of the commercials, I tend to stop and watch it because I thought they were very funny. They tried to make a show out of those commercials, and it bombed terribly. So it's bold to grab this gimmick and try to create a show around it. So Ted Lasso is an American football coach, as I said, from Kansas City, Kansas. Can't get more Americana than that. And he gets hired by the owner of Richmond to basically coach, to be the manager of the club. Richmond in this universe is a EPL team, and not only that, is it's a team that is owned by a woman who won the ownership of the club in a settlement, divorce settlement. She explains later in the first season that she only took the club away from her ex-husband because he loved the club more than he ever loved her. So she wanted to destroy the one thing that he loved the most. It's not hard to identify with Ted because we all been fish out of the water at some point in our lives or our careers. We'll have to start all over somewhere else. We all have traveled overseas and had to encounter a different culture and feel different. But Ted is not the only one. His players also come from different parts of the world, and they also have to conform to this idea of being in a different country. Ted's philosophy is one where there's nothing impossible as long as we give our best. And throughout the series, you see this philosophy being applied, and he elevates the people around him. He's a leader. We can take that right away. He might not be the greatest football manager, but he definitely is someone who is a leader and a builder of men, and everybody around him becomes better. But we find out in the first season that the reason why Ted took the job in the first place is because his wife was divorcing him. And one of the things that touched me, and a lot of people that have watched the show that either had a bad breakup in a relationship or had a bad divorce, I will tell you, is that it's extremely relatable. just like Ted, although I have been married, happily married for the last 15 years, been with my wife for 16 years. I have two beautiful children. The fact is that I also have a failed first marriage. My first wife in 2005, April 2005, told me, "Hey, I want a divorce." Just like that. It was a Saturday afternoon. I mean, Saturday morning, I think it was. But I know it was a Saturday. You wake up, it's the weekend, yay, and just to know that the day before, okay, the day before, everything was fine, and less than 24 hours later, she drops this bomb. She never gave me a reason why she wanted a divorce. Later on, I found out she had a boyfriend, which that relationship fizzled out the second the ink dried on our divorce papers. But she never gave me the satisfaction of saying, "I left you because this, and that." And I think that's Ted's problem as well. He just doesn't really doesn't understand why he can fix things on the pitch, how he can fix things in the locker room, but he can't fix his marriage. And on top of that, he's losing his son because now they're gonna be separated by 7 time zones. They're gonna be separated by distance, and his son is in an age where you will think, it's extremely necessary for a father to be a constant presence in his son's life, which I think is the greatest tragedy of it all. How his players look up to him, but the person that matters the most can't be there with him, which is his son. So it's a extreme tragedy in Ted's life, that situation is happening. But we follow him through the ups and downs of being an American in the UK. While we speak the same language, and I'm saying we from the American perspective, we speak the same language as people in the UK, culturally and historically, we are completely different people. One of the things that a lot of people forget is that the United States and the UK had very little contact between 1814 and 1914. The United States fought back-to-back wars with the UK, the American Revolution and the War of 1812. The War of 1812 being a stalemate that left a lot of issues unresolved between the UK and the United States. And while the United States was a staunch Republican, do-it-yourself, freedom riding, gun-slinging people that absorbed the poorest of the poorest from Europe, was influenced by Africans, was influenced by Native Americans, was influenced by its neighbors to the south that hail from former Spanish, Portuguese, French, Dutch, and English colonies. England was doing its own thing, was building an empire, and fighting its own wars and doing all that. And World War One sort of brings us back together, and we rekindle our friendship because we fought 2 world wars together, and that brought us closer together. And now we have been building since bridges between both nations, culturally, sports, music, entertainment, and all sorts of things like that. And I think there's a lot of mutual admiration. And when it comes to football, I think, and this is just my opinion, my experience, there's 2 camps in the UK. The ones that say, this is ours, we don't need to share, we don't need to teach them. They already dominate the world stage when it comes to popular culture. This is our last floating device that we're holding on in the storm, and why should we surrender it or share it with them? I encounter people that are, basically have told me, go away, we don't need you, you don't know football, go back to baseball, you're just an ignorant American, go shack your gun, go shack your flag, things like that. And my experience with my English club, Stevenage, has been a different one, where they have embraced me. They have opened their doors for me, and I feel included and cared for, and people are affectionate towards me. So going back to Ted sort of encounters that a little bit. He has fans that just hate him, and then has fans that are willing to give him a shot, and there's people that really embrace him. So in a way, Ted embodies the experience of the American football fan when they go out to follow a European team, specifically one in the UK. I have to say that my local club, Orlando City, has a huge fan base in the UK, and we have been nothing but welcoming to them, and they have showed us a lot of appreciation. As a matter of fact, I ended up being a Stevenage fan due to the fact that friends who were already following Orlando City introduced me to their club. So that's part, I think, as an American, when Ted is navigating the world of English football, we sort of like can relate to him. Like, I've been there. I know what it is to be discredited just because of my nationality. Like, I don't know anything. The first season basically ends with the team being relegated, and I think we suffer with Ted, because I don't think Ted ever understood the ramifications of ending in the relegation zone, or what relegation is. Relegation destroys towns. People lose their jobs. There's layoffs. There's situations where the club suffers, and that's something in the community around it. Clubs are economical engines for communities worldwide. It doesn't matter what league it is. But when you have a pro relegation system where you lose your spot in the big show, it's devastating. And I think Ted finally gets it after the fact, which is the greatest tragedy. Now, the owner of the team gives him a second shot, and season 2 is about Richmond in the championship fighting to get back to the EPL. I think the premise of that is fantastic, because obviously you could have said, hey, they go and they manage to stay out of the relegation zone, and Ted is the hero. That is American exceptionalism that some of these reviews have criticized the show for. I think it's humbling to see that Ted's inexperience and the ownership's self-sabotage has consequences that they never intended, because now the fans are affected, the players are affected, the community is affected based on this petty revenge by a scorned woman, and the ineptitude of a man that, even though he wants it really bad, can deliver, because it's out of his skill set, which he's learning as he goes. The players, the focus on the players, I think, is fantastic, because we get to see the human being behind the jersey. We get to see how a club operates, the struggles of a club trying to deal with this tragedy. It's a fantastic show. You don't have to be a football soccer fan to enjoy the show. It helps a little bit, but at this point, I went in because of the focus of the game. But to be honest with you, I am enjoying the character build up. It's just such a well written show, and so much fun. So I suggest, if you haven't watched it, it's on Apple Plus streaming service. So go check it out. And with that said, thank you for watching. Consider subscribing to the channel. And I will say goodbye to you in the words of my favorite character, Danny Rojas, by saying, football is life. Till next time.